y'all. So I am starting this little process video off with a question, and that is particularly for other YouTube channel owners or podcast hosts who I'd love to hear and to have linked down below in a comment when you answer this question. But do you ever have those voiceovers or episodes that just will not get done? This would be it for me. I struggled with this art process, so you see me fumble around a lot in the video, but even the voiceover, the first time I just kept fumbling, and I've been fumbling as I restarted, and I want to be authentic, but I also want to, be enjoyable to listen to, and to be informative, and to do this well, not just will listen to me babble. Which it is, but sometimes there's a better babble than other times. So, are there times where you have just gotten bested by nerves, or it's a headspace issue? Like the second time I was really low energy, and now that I'm feeling better about other things in my life, I think that it shows for anyone who's paying attention, and maybe I'm paying too close of attention, and that's the problem. But so I'm redoing this, and this is my last attempt. I don't care if I stutter or if I, misspeak or whatever. We're just going to work with it. Because, that's part of the process too. And you watch me do it. Why can't you listen to me do it, I guess? So, but I'd love to hear some of your tips and any feedback or things that you've learned along the way. Or even just your thoughts and comparison on process. So there's a few notes that I should also point out. One, this orientation is terrible, and I didn't realize when I was recording. I was using borrowed space, so it's kind of wonky anyway, and I still don't have a tripod or anything like that for a good setup. And so I really apologize for that, and I know it can be really irritating, so I really appreciate if you stick with me for this process. The other note is that my hands, I slowly move the book a little bit further down, and so when I'm working on the bottom trying to line stickers up with the edge, you can't see what I'm doing. So please look at all of the other cool products that I'm using, and eventually I will move back up, because I end up finishing about half, like the bottom half of this cover. And so you were watching me pull together a kit impromptu by going through lots of the sticker books and paper collections that I have. Because I like to start my process by doing that, and so this is why it's kind of a kit edition for the first half. And I love going through. It helps me be a little braver with colors. I find that putting colors together, and I can be quite monochromatic, and that tends to be my comfort zone, and it can stress me out to figure out which colors go together. And I think it's because I had a painter father who really loved color theory, and so I get it, but I don't. and so I feel like I've gotten better, particularly this past year, with kind of getting past that. And sometimes I'll ask people, hey, does this look better, or the other, and then sometimes I'm just like, you know what, you're going to focus on yourself, you're not going to reach out, like you're just going to do it. And if it doesn't look good, or you don't love it, that's okay, because it's process over product, and you should allow yourself to make mistakes and for pages to not look as great as whatever plan. And sometimes the surprise is that they look better. So that's what I keep trying to remind myself. And when I do this, I can start pulling in more colors, because I can start with that like beautiful orange from that vintage playing card with the bird, and then I get the pineapple that obviously goes with it, and then but even the flamingo sticker that you can see at the very top, that starts branching out into other colors. So I really love these awesome patterns, and obviously the mushrooms have lots of colors going, and I think you're able to play with it a lot more if you also than you may think, if you're like me and stress out about bright colors or too many colors, or different shades and things like that. So I'm just trying to line it up and play Tetris, which is what I did on my postcard process that I posted last. But this is also based a little bit on Adele from Inky Quill and Let's Get Inky, which I think is the channel that I think Let's Get Inky is her art journal channel, where she does a lot of more messy things than scrapbooking, where you can find that on Inky Quill. So anyway, after I've kind of butchered that explanation, she is wonderful if you aren't already following her. She is, a very stick and plonk, she says, type of person, where she tries not to overthink it. And she actually, I believe it was on a traveler's notebook cover, used a lot of stickers and lots of layers, and it was so beautiful. So this sort of same process is being used here, but I am pulling out some paper ephemera, again from a vintage vendor on Instagram, who I will link down below. Her name is Crafty Lisa's Vintage, and because the D-Stash box where I got all these vintage papers and ephemera is the biggest ephemera collection I have, particularly of that type. You will probably hear me speak of her often. She has great deals though, and I love supporting small business owners and other artists, so I hope that that's enjoyable as well. And I will be trying to list all of my products used down below, so that you're able to find them, but I'm not sponsored by any of them, of course, and I doubt that you think I am, but just so you know, like, when I'm telling you about my sources, it's because I genuinely love those products and want you to be able to find them and enjoy them as well. So I'm using a little bit of lemon washi from one of my best babes and pals on Instagram. She's my first pen pal, at least as an adult, and I was such a big fan of her, and she was so gracious, and we exchanged a few summers ago. So I credit her with a lot of my art Instagram journey and becoming a more regular artist who is not such an overthinker all the time. And so I will link her down below, but her Instagram is Nature Coast Vintage, and she shares a lot of body positive stuff, lots of vintage, and I really love some of her Disney and children's book image journal pieces as well. So if you're into any of those things, please check her out. And I also can credit part of my journey to my wonderful partner of almost 4 years. He's Canadian and does MMA, and he actually he taught me how to use my new phone, because I didn't get a smartphone until I was in college, and then I got an iPhone a year later after I saved some money, and he taught me how to use it when I went up there to visit him for the first time. And then he showed me Instagram, helped me get set up like a little old lady, and and here we are with the now YouTube channel and everything. But he was the one who introduced me to some snail mail communities and really encouraged that to go further. So I love him, and I love him for that. And you can see I'm mixing patterns, and I've used that vintage orange cream soda label, but I'm also using stickers that I got from Peachy Cheap, which has great daily deals. I'm using that orange bird card, playing card, and a little purchase certificate. And then there's that fabric tape too that's floral. And so I'm just pulling in creams and warm colors in particular, which is kind of good for me, again, going on my color. The things that get me a little nervous. For whatever reason, I dye my hair red, but I really struggle to use red in my art, and I've been working on that, particularly using watercolors. I find that watercolors are great for getting out of your head, because you can just sit there with your paintbrush and let water flow and make shapes, and you can do splatters and all kinds of things. And at the end of the day, it looks good. It just does. I love watercolor abstracts. I love seeing people do watercolor plays. So I look forward to when I can bring that out and um, upload some process videos for that on here as well. And these, so I had created a bunch of these little color chip things. I was sitting and studying in my last semester of undergrad with one of my best friends who was a first year roommate for me. And she had some really great markers. And I was, we were taking a break to color in between all of the work we had to do with my senior thesis on psychedelics and her final project on some Russian female leaders. And so they're very messy and easy to do. I did it on scrap, kind of thick cardstock paper, and then we named them, some of them based on just the color itself, and some on the markers. So I have had them in a little pouch for a long time and love pulling them out. I think they somehow give a very cool look. And there's a few art journalists who use the color swatch in their journals and on their pieces, and so it's pretty common, but this is a nice mixed media way to do it. So I super recommend having just a few stashed away if you like to collage. And I love Flourish. I got this at Tuesday Morning for much cheaper than some of the other places I had looked recently, and I'm so excited to use it. I think those houses are so cute. So I'm rapidly coming toward the end of this video, and thank you for listening to me. I hope this was a good last attempt